welcome to the deep dive. You sent us a ton of sources on the science of living longer, and we found maybe the ultimate guide, a man who hasn't just studied longevity, but has been living it for 100 years.
Yeah, this one is pretty incredible.
So today, we're cracking open the playbook of Dr. John Scharffenberg. He's a physician, a nutritionist, and a professor at Loma Linda University. And he is, believe it or not, celebrating his 100th year. And he's still teaching.
Still teaching, still researching. It's amazing.
Our mission today is pretty laser-focused. We're going to distill his core keys to health and longevity, and then we're going to get into the three big vitamin deficiencies he says are plaguing Americans, especially seniors.
I think this is such a remarkable deep dive because we're moving past just, abstract clinical papers. We're looking at the lived experience of a centenarian who is actually part of one of the world's longevity hotspots.
Right.
Dr. Scharffenberg is in Loma Linda, California, which most people know as a verified blue zone. So when you study someone like that with the academic background and, decades of real-world practice, you get insights that are just so powerful and so practical.
Okay, let's get into it. You ask a 100-year-old nutrition professor for his #1 secret, and you'd expect, I don't know, some obscure food or...
Some kind of superfood, right?
Exactly. But Dr. Scharffenberg's top secret is almost shockingly simple, and it has nothing to do with food. It's exercise. He says movement is the single most important thing you can do for your health.
And what's so fascinating is how he frames it. He completely flips the script on conventional wisdom. He points to this incredible finding that an obese woman who exercises every single day will statistically outlive a normal weight woman who doesn't exercise.
Wow. Okay, that is huge.
It is.
That one data point suggests that your activity level can, literally trump a major risk factor like obesity. It really challenges the focus on BMI and just weight loss.
It absolutely does. The message is basically that motion is life insurance. And he really stresses that while, any time is good, mid-age, that 40 to 60 bracket is the most critical time to get active.
And why then?
Well, the evidence suggests that being active during those decades might seriously reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease down the road.
So you're not just protecting your body, you're actively protecting your brain years, maybe decades in advance.
Exactly.
I love the calculation he gives, too. It's so direct. For every single hour you exercise, you will live 3 hours longer. That's an incredible return on investment.
It's a direct ROI for your time, precisely. And for older adults listening, he's very clear. You don't need to be doing high-impact aerobics or anything.
Right.
You just need to keep moving. The recommendation is simple. Try to walk at least 2 miles a day. That basic activity helps maintain muscle, keeps diseases at bay, and maybe most importantly, helps you maintain your independence.
Which is probably the biggest predictor of quality of life in those later years.
For sure.
And that idea of a sustained routine flows right into his second big secret, which is that whole holistic lifestyle of the Blue Zone. I mean, he's a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Loma Linda, so he lives a life free of, smoking and drinking.
Right, the two big public health enemies. But it's more than just what they don't do, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, if you zoom out to the bigger Blue Zone picture, it's a whole lifestyle package. The Adventist advantage comes from things like a really strong supportive community, which cuts down on stress and isolation, to massive mortality risks.
And that Sabbath tradition.
That's Sabbath tradition, right. Setting aside 24 hours every week to just rest and connect. It forces them to de-stress. So that whole low-stress environment is just as vital as the food on their plate.
So longevity isn't just about what you cut out. It's also about what you actively build in. Movement, community, and rest.
Exactly. Let's hone in on the food now, because Loma Linda is a blue zone, but it's one of 5. There's also Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and Ikaria in Greece. And they all show these clusters of longevity around certain habits.
And the data on the diet is pretty stark. We know the Loma Linda Adventists live about 10 years longer than other Americans, but when you look inside that community, the vegetarian Adventists live about 1.5 to 2.5 years longer than the Adventists who do eat meat.
And that pattern just holds up everywhere. The vast majority of people who live to be extremely old, like over 108, are on diets that are overwhelmingly plant-based. Lots of beans, lots of whole grains.
Okay, so that's the general rule, but let's get specific. If you opened up a pantry in an Adventist home in Loma Linda, what are the 5 core food groups you'd find? Let's walk through them.
Okay, the foundation really starts with legumes. So we're talking beans, lentils, chickpeas, peas. They're just packed with protein and fiber, so they're great for gut health and keeping you full.
And number 2 is whole grains. Brown rice, barley, oatmeal. The key being whole, not the refined white versions. That fiber is linked to lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers.
Then third, you have nuts. These can be tricky because, they're high in calories, but they are nutritional powerhouses. There are studies showing that for high-risk groups, eating nuts like pistachios can actually cut the risk of a heart attack in half.
In half.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But yeah, portion control is definitely key.
For sure.
And the last 2, 4 and 5, are pretty straightforward, but you can't skip them. Fruits and vegetables.
Right. Getting a whole spectrum of colors means you're getting all those powerful plant chemicals that help lower your risk for chronic diseases. So that's the template. Legumes, whole grains, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. It's simple, but it has decades of data behind it.
So what about Dr. Scharffenberg himself? 2 foods really stood out in our sources. First, his big recommendation for soy and tofu. He suggests trying to get about 100 grams of tofu or soybeans a day.
Yeah, this is a classic Adventist staple. Soybeans are a complete protein, and they're rich in these compounds called isoflavones.
Which are what exactly?
They're basically plant-based estrogens, and they can be really beneficial. They might help with symptoms of menopause in women, and they're linked to a lower risk of both prostate and breast cancer.
Okay, that makes sense. But there's always a but, right? Any cautions with eating that much soy every day?
Yes, he's careful to note that. For most people, it's fine, but it can cause some digestive issues for some, and for people who are already predisposed to thyroid issues, a really high intake might suppress thyroid function a bit. So, it's about moderation and knowing your own body.
Good to know.
Huh.
And the second specific food, I heard he has a favorite fruit.
He does. He calls it the king of fruits, the mango.
Ah.
Mangoes are loaded with 2 things called lutein and zeaxanthin. Basically, they're powerful antioxidants that are vital for your eye health.
Oh.
They can seriously reduce the risk of chronic eye diseases like macular degeneration.
So it's like a tropical defense system for your eyesight.
Exactly. Plus, they have polyphenols, which fight cell damage and might even help prevent the growth of certain breast and colon cancer cells. And they're a great source of vitamin B6, which is crucial for brain function. Half a cup gives you 10% of what you need for the day.
That actually leads us perfectly into the third part of his advice, tackling the vitamin deficiencies he sees everywhere. He pointed to 3 that are really common, especially in people over 50. Let's start with vitamin A.
Yeah, the numbers on this are pretty big. About 45% of Americans don't get enough vitamin A. And, globally, it's way worse, affecting millions of kids and pregnant women.
And its job in the body is just foundational. It's for skin cell replacement, a healthy immune system. A deficiency means you have a much higher risk of getting a serious infection. And of course, vision. Night blindness is like the classic warning sign.
Right. But what's really critical here is not just that you need it, but how you get it. Dr. Scharffenberg is really strong on this point. He says to focus on beta-carotene from plants, not vitamin A supplements.
Okay, why the difference? I thought the body just converts beta-carotene into vitamin A anyway.
It does, but this comes down to bone safety. Taking high doses of straight vitamin A in supplements has been shown to increase the risk of osteoporosis. That's a huge concern for older people.
Ah, I see.
But beta-carotene, the stuff you get from cantaloupe, carrots, sweet potatoes, your body regulates that conversion process. It only makes what it needs so you don't get that dangerous excess. You get all the benefits without the bone risk.
That's a huge takeaway.
Okay.
Next up, vitamin B12. This is a big one for anyone over 50.
A very big one. We're realizing far more people are deficient than we used to think. The whole problem with B12 is how it's absorbed. To get it from food, like meat, your body needs something called the intrinsic factor, which is made in your stomach.
And I'm guessing as we get older, that production line slows down.
It slows way down. Once you get past 50, your ability to make that intrinsic factor just plummets. So you could be eating B12-rich foods all day and still become deficient because your gut just can't grab onto it anymore.
So how do you fix that if it's a basic chemistry problem with aging?
The answer for seniors, and for vegetarians for that matter, is supplementation. And here's why it works. B12 can also be absorbed through a different process called passive diffusion.
What's that?
Think of it like this. Intrinsic factor is like having a specific key to a locked door. Passive diffusion is when the B12 from a supplement is so concentrated that some of it just sort of seeps through the wall next to the door right into your bloodstream. It bypasses the lock completely.
That is a fantastic explanation. So you just brute force it in.
You basically do.
Okay, last one. Vitamin D. This one seems to be the most tied to where you live.
Absolutely. We're talking over half the general population is deficient, and it gets way worse with age, up to 70%, even 95% in some studies of elderly Americans. He draws a really clear line. If you live north of Washington, D.C. or New York City, you're pretty much guaranteed to be deficient for a big chunk of the year.
Why such a hard geographical line?
Because we primarily make vitamin D from the sun. UVB rays hit the cholesterol in your skin, and your body converts it into the active hormone we call vitamin D. But in the winter in northern latitudes, the sun's angle is so low that the atmosphere filters out almost all of those necessary UVB rays. You just can't make it.
And what's at stake if you're low? What does it do?
Its main job is keeping your bones in good shape. It massively increases how much calcium you can absorb, like up to 3 times more. But the benefits are broader. Good vitamin D levels are linked to lower blood pressure, and there's growing evidence it might reduce the risk of certain cancers.
So given all that, supplementation seems less like an option and more like a necessity for a lot of people.
It really is. For anyone in the north or for older people, supplements are pretty much required. Because even with the sun, we have to listen to Dr. Scharffenberg's caution. You have to balance getting vitamin D with the very real risk of skin cancer from too much sun.
A very important point.
So when you bring it all together, his secrets to a long life really aren't secrets at all. It's a holistic lifestyle. You have constant movement, a diet full of plants, you cut out things like tobacco and alcohol, and you really invest in your community and your mental well-being. It's that whole package that gives the Loma Linda Adventists that decade-long boost in life expectancy.
That's the perfect synthesis. For you, the listener, the takeaways are really clear and you can act on them. First, the incredible importance of exercise, especially in midlife, to protect your brain. Second, the simple power of those 5 food groups: legumes, whole grains, nuts, fruits, and vegetables. And third, the critical need to check your levels of vitamin A, remembering to favor beta-carotene B12 and D. So if these simple changes in diet and movement are linked to living a full decade longer than average, here's the final question to think about. What one small blue zone habit are you going to start today to earn those extra 3 hours of life for every single hour you exercise?